Former Dutch intelligence chief Dick Schoof has been sworn in as Prime Minister of the Netherlands. Roughly 7 tons of waste was removed from Hungary's Lake Tisza.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has held talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv. Poland's Prime Minister and Germany's Chancellor have held talks in Warsaw for the first time in 6 years.
Europe's Balkan countries have been battered by heavy midweek rains, thunderstorms, falling temperatures and even hail. At least 2 people have died in Montenegro, while egg-sized hailstones damaged infrastructure in Slovenia. Officials say almost 300 firefighters removed fallen trees and repaired roofs in Croatia's east.
Da su, evo I oni sinoć I sami se angažirali, bili smo u komunikaciji. Ono što je bitno reći da će vlada Republike Hrvatske, nažalost već po ko zna koji put u Slavoniji, vidite I sami ste svjedoci da nam se to malte ne događa iz mjeseca u mjesec kada su ljetna razdoblja kao I prošle godine. Ovdje se nalazimo u Bošnjacima, kad pogledate krovove I kuće, više to asocira na nekako kao ratno razdoblje.
The storm wrecked beaches, ripped out trees and inundated streets across the region. Experts warn human-induced climate change has caused the wild weather swings, with the worst yet to come. Former Dutch intelligence chief Dick Schoof has been sworn in as Prime Minister at the head of a right-wing coalition government promising to implement the Netherlands' strictest ever asylum and immigration policy. The independent candidate is succeeding departing Prime Minister Mark Rutte, who is set to become the next Secretary-General of NATO after 14 years in office at The Hague. It comes more than 7 months after the veteran anti-Islam populist leader Geert Wilders' electoral victory in November. But after a series of negotiations, he was forced to give up on his own ambitions to be Prime Minister to keep the coalition talks on track. Some partners considered his anti-Islam and Eurosceptic statements too extreme to lead the nation. So instead of having their own leaders stand for Prime Minister, the 4 coalition partners, the Freedom Party, the Farmers' Party, the Liberal Conservative VVD and the new anti-corruption party NSC agreed to compromise on Schoof. More than 7 tons of plastic waste has been collected from Hungary's Lake Tisza as part of a historic cleanup competition. The teams, called Pet Pirates, sailed on the artificial lake's high seas with kayaks and makeshift boats to gather the waste. The more plastic they accumulated, the closer they inched to winning the Pet Cup.
Legalább 3 tonna szemét van azon a hajón, amit most mindenki élő láncban pakol ki, és ez a rengeteg szemét csak ma reggel óta gyűlt össze.
While the collected waste is sorted by colour and material, volunteers are always amazed by the kind of trash they find.
Milyen egész motort, ilyen kisgyerekmotort találtunk.
Most is nagyon-nagyon sok szemét volt, a nádat széthúztad, felhúztad a száraz nádat, és alatta volt egy rakat színbe végig a szemét.
The Pet Cup started in 2013 with the aim of ridding Hungary's most magnificent natural wonders of garbage. Pet Pirates will captain clean-up operations at the polluted Bodrog floodplain in August.
The United Kingdom is heading into its first general election since it formally exited the European Union. But the 2 main candidates jostling for power, Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer, have chosen to swerve the issue of Brexit on the campaign trail.
So both main parties have tried to discuss Brexit as little as possible. The reason on the Conservative side is that Boris Johnson was elected promising to get Brexit done, but since then voters have been quite disappointed with what has been delivered, so Rishi Sunak doesn't want to draw attention to that on the campaign trail. And for Labour, Keir Starmer of course is trying to win back seats in the Red Wall which voted for Leave in 2016.
Labour leader Keir Starmer, on the cusp of power, has said he will reinvigorate the EU-UK ties that have been strained since Brexit, but he has kept details vague and has ruled out joining the EU single market or customs union or reinstating free movement. Brussels is unlikely to let the UK cherry-pick its way to a better deal.
It seems to me that Labour has kind of painted itself into a corner a bit by continually saying, here are three things that we're not going to do. They have limited their room for manoeuvre and they've limited their ability to negotiate a better deal with the EU.
With war raging on Europe's doorstep, analysts also say a likely Labour-led UK government could seek closer EU collaboration on security and defence. The UK is a key NATO ally and already aligned with the bloc on support for Ukraine, but a more pro-European Labour government could seek to work even closer with Brussels.
A lot of the EU's recent initiatives and projects in this area have been focused on bolstering defence industrial production. But many of those initiatives and projects don't include third countries. They're deliberately focused on EU member state industries. So it's going to be a difficult issue or a difficult thing to negotiate whether the UK can be part of them or whether the UK wants to be part of them.
There are many high-stakes elections happening across the world this year that could tip the geopolitical balance. Donald Trump's potential return to the White House could leave Europe more alone in defending itself and propping up Ukraine. But it looks like Brussels will be able to count on a more pro-EU government here in London and one that will potentially want to work closer on defence and security. Maret Gwyn for Euronews in London.
The far right continues to expand its power in the EU, with a new government in the Netherlands taking office on Tuesday. Furthermore, the far right National Rally won the first round of French legislative elections on Sunday.
On the one hand, it could be, of course, a question of hollowing out European policies from within. On the other hand, well, those far-right leaders might start to understand that they also need the European Union to be able to deliver a number of the promises that they have done to their national electorate, especially in terms of security and immigration.
Hungary is the only member state with a far-right party with a majority in power. The far right has entered coalition governments in Italy, Finland, the Netherlands, Czech and Croatia. France might be next. If the second round on July 7 confirms the victory of National Rally, the centrist President Emmanuel Macron could be more isolated. He would lose control over many internal policies and influence in the European Council.
What is, of course, very clear is that French President Emmanuel Macron is strongly weakened by the current election results, and that will probably not really be changing next Sunday. And so, indeed, he will be a weakened president around the European table. And that can also have an impact on the German-French axis, which, of course, historically and still today is one of the main driving forces of European politics.
A political dossier cannot be approved if 4 member states, representing 35% of the EU population, abstain or vote. Some of the areas that could be most impacted are the implementation of the Migration Pact, the new phase of the Green Deal, and support for candidate countries for EU membership.
In Northern Ireland, the leader of the pro-British Democratic Unionist Party is under pressure to retain his seat in the UK general election. 18 Westminster seats are up for grabs. The pro-British DUP currently have 8 seats, while the pro-Irish Unity Party Sinn Féin have 7. In Unionist East Belfast, the Alliance Party believe they can unseat the leader of the DUP, Gavin Robinson.
It's very close to call, but the feedback from our canvassers who are out on the ground is that it's looking good. The response is good. Naomi is a once-in-a-generation politician in our view. She's highly capable. She's represented in Europe, in Westminster before, and as Justice Minister. And I think people know if they put their vote in her that she'll deliver for them.
The DUP say that despite all the speculation, they are confident of returning 8 MPs to London, as is currently the case, including their party leader.
Gavin Robinson has a proven track record in East Belfast. He has returned really strong votes every time he's gone before the electorate, and I believe that he will do so again, but we don't take anything for granted.
With rival unionist parties likely to steal votes from the DUP, the loss of just one Westminster seat for the main unionist party will be hugely symbolic, as pro-Irish unity party Sinn Féin continues to expand its support due to growing numbers of Irish nationalist Catholics in Northern Ireland.
Symbolism is very important in Northern Irish politics, in all of Irish politics. Often it's more significant than the reality of what has actually happened. And the very significant narrative that there has been over the last number of years has been that Sinn Féin are on the rise and the unionist parties are in decline. And so if that continues in this election, it will reinforce the sense that Irish unity is potentially getting closer.
If the pro-British Democratic Unionist Party lose just one seat in this general election, that means they will, in all likelihood, return to Westminster and London with the same number of seats as Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin don't actually take their seats, but do engage with officials in London. However, the fact that unionist dominance in the House of Commons will be over as far as Northern Ireland is concerned will be hugely significant and will likely see further calls for a referendum on a united Ireland. The results will be known in the coming days. This is Ken Murray for Euronews in Belfast.